the seating order, didn't we? Well, we'll figure it out now. Find a chair and get comfortable. I was trying to, hello to everyone. I'm trying not to turn my back to any of you, but I guess I'm going to do that, whether I like it or not. Welcome, bienvenue, tout le monde, ici aujourd'hui. I was trying to tell the students that I met yesterday, the kids, I said, don't worry, it'll be no problem. It'll just be like we're sitting around having a conversation. And we came in and saw how we're sitting in the middle of the room and everyone, I said, oh well, never mind that. It's with pride and pleasure that I find myself up on stage with this group of students and speaking to you all today. I actually began my career working with CBC right here in Quebec City, so this is a homecoming of sorts for me, with a little bit of trepidation though, because I started my career with CBC here as a radio reporter, and then they offered me an incredible job to be a television reporter at the National Assembly, the legislature here, where my brother-in-law works. And it was an incredible opportunity for me. I didn't really have any aspirations to work in television, but I was given this opportunity, so I seized it by the horns. So I say trepidation coming back here because this also reminds me, this is where I got to start as the world's worst television reporter. I was awful. I was just the worst thing. And I come back here, some of those memories come back to me. But I was very fortunate because they sent this wonderful producer from Toronto, and she was a really good TV producer. And it's here where I have some memories in this ballroom. Because we did a story, it was the 100th anniversary of the Shadow Frontenac. So we did a story for the news. And there's a scene, in fact, a little bit of trivia for you, that Alfred Hitchcock shot one of his movies in Quebec City. And there's a dramatic scene that takes place right in this room. So we came back to sort of recreate the scene. The movie was called I Confess. And there's a scene where, leaning up against that stage, one of the characters is actually shot and killed. So we sort of played off on that for a story that we did. And the story was great. The premier at the time was Robert Bourassa. He used to actually live here in the hotel when he was in Quebec City. He took part in it, told a great story, loved it. CNN picked it up, it went around the world. So the people here at Shadow Frontenac were thrilled. And it gave me a little confidence that I wasn't maybe such the worst TV reporter ever. And the wonderful woman who helped me make that happen is today my wife. And I'm not sure if that was a way of really properly thanking her. But she has since given me, she's produced my career, and then she produced 4 beautiful boys. And so she's here in the hotel, but not in the room, because we left our kids back in Toronto. And like as any of you as parents can appreciate, she's sound asleep right now and enjoying it. So I understand, wherever you are in this building, Angela, thank you for all that you've done. And David, I have to give props to you who are organizing this thing. What other guy can pull off having this beautiful conference and getting LMFAO to play it? Yeah. Well, I said, this guy's good. He's really good. My TV career has worked pretty well for me since my early days here in Quebec City. And a couple of things I think I'm most proudest of, or I have the most pride in. I know the grammarians out there are going to correct me, please don't, it's Saturday morning. A couple of things that involve schools. And one of them was where I did a series for the National. It was called 7. And I spent 7 days in a school in Prince Rupert and see what it was like to be a teacher there. And it was a story that moved me and opened my eyes to the challenges the teachers face all across this country. School boards and the like, trustees, of course. And then recently, as David was mentioning, did a series, or did a documentary on bullying and a series of stories on bullying at Film and Wright. And I know some of the people from the board are here as well, and that was a real eye-opener for me too, as a journalist, but I guess first and foremost as a dad. Some of the challenges that we all face out there. So my involvement with students as a parent, but also as a journalist, is deep, and that's why I'm very proud to be part of what we've got here today, and we're proud of what you're all working to accomplish as well. And I do want to acknowledge that my brother and sister-in-law, who have already been acknowledged. Some say that you have these lofty titles. I see them as the reason why I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Because we did a little catching up last night. So thank you, I think. Now, I'm just trying to take a little pressure off this wonderful group of students who are up here, petrified. So give them a break, because they got guts. And one of the things I've learned, and as I did in that story on bullying, for example, is there are a lot of self-proclaimed experts out there that we've all heard from and that they make the rounds. But in my career as a journalist, and what I always try to do is turn the microphone over to those who are at the heart of the story, the people who are living it and breathing it day after day, and you're looking at them. So I think it's a great idea, and I applaud David when I was first contacted for this, giving them the opportunity and giving them the opportunity to speak, giving you the opportunity to listen to what they have to say. Because the pearls of wisdom really do come from the kids themselves. They may not feel that right now because they're just panicking. But once we get beyond the panic, I think it'll be great. And we just want to create a forum here where we can have a conversation. And they can talk about some of the obstacles and some of the things that they have encountered along the way. And we can work together, I think, to move through. As I said to them, if we can accomplish one thing today, it's to get all of you thinking. I told them, we're not going to solve all the problems in all the schools. We're not going to ask you to come up with all the pearls of wisdom. I don't want to put that pressure on you. But what I do want all of you to do is to leave today thinking and seeing things in a different way. And I think the students, by sharing their experiences, and reminding you, enlightening you, inspiring you, and make you feel as you walk out the doors here after a few days that you've all been through here, really prepare for the challenges that lay ahead. Because every day, we entrust you with our most important resource, which is our tax dollars. This is for kids. I just want to see if you're listening. Come on. Work with me, people. Were you all up till 2 o'clock last night? So, here's what we're going to do. I know I think you may have information on all the students here, but what I've asked them to do is that we're just going to go around the horn here and for them to introduce themselves to you all, who they are, where they're from, and a little snippet of themselves. I gave them some homework last night to try to prepare themselves for today so everything would feel comfortable and cool, and I hope everyone's feeling comfortable and cool. Yeah? No? Yeah? So, why don't we start?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Taylor. I come from Newton, Manitoba. I've been in a lot of schools in my life. It took me 6 years to get out of high school.
Jennifer has a great story to tell too about some of the struggles that she's been through, and we'll learn a bit more about that. Go ahead.
Okay, well, hello, my name is Tyson Owens. I'm from Central Newfoundland. I'm a grade 11 student at Lewisport Collegiate. I do whatever I can to get involved in extracurricular activities. I play for my high school basketball team. I participated in math leagues, and I sing with my high school choir.
Hi, my name is Taylor Cameron. I'm from Lake Bay, Nova Scotia. I just graduated high school last week. I go to Lake Bay High in Lake Bay. And this year I was the student council president at our school, and I tried to come involved as much in school as I could. I marched in the Disney World Parade with our school band on 2 occasions. Been on a couple travel groups with the school as well. I've been a member of student council all my 3 years in high school.
So my name is Raz Zafari, and I'm actually a student trustee on the Toronto School Board. I'm in Toronto, Ontario. And I immigrated to the country at age 4, not speaking a word of English. And with the immigrant mindset, my parents also put me in French immersion. So learning both at the same time. But what I was lucky to have was great teachers that I could relate to, and that really helped me get through all of it. And so now here we are. I'm also the president of the Ontario Student Trustee Association, an association that's only common to Ontario. And we're doing great work there.
And he's going to be your boss within 5 years. Just saying.
Well, my name is Emilio Mawadi. I come from the First Nations of Barrier Lake. I've been in adult ed for about 4 years now, and I've been in at least 3 different schools of Western Quebec. I'm an active musician. I try to play as much shows as I possibly can. I'm working on an album, and I've been going to school, and I keep going to school because I believe if I do complete it and keep going forward, it's going to just keep benefiting for me, no matter what I go through. You know, it's just going to keep me going.
Don't worry about the camera. It's just you and me and 700 of your closest friends.
My name is Lake Boners. I'm from Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. I'm 17 years old and I'm currently going into the 12th grade if everything works out all right. I am the president of my school student council, and I've also had the privilege this year to serve a term on the Speak Out Minister Student Advisory Council, which is Alberta's provincial student engagement initiative, which gets students involved in helping offer their input and perspective on educational decisions. Besides that, I'm also an actor, really love theater and the arts.
Hi, my name is Laurence Maubu, and I'm from Montreal, Quebec. I am currently 17 years old. I have also just graduated from high school, so I'm getting prepared for CEGEP. And I love everything about school, like the school spirit. I dance, I'm on the social justice team, I'm on grad corps, which is a committee for the graduates, and I love everything about school.
This is a kid you want as in your class. I love everything about school. That's great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Nolan. I don't love everything about school. But I'm the involved kid. I'm everything. I'm everywhere. I did tutoring. I'm vice president of the student council. I graduated last year from St. Patrick's High School in Quebec City, and yeah, I'm really involved in school. I'm really everywhere. I've done sports. I've done, like I said, tutoring, student council, whole 5 years, grad committee, everything. It's just homework. I don't like homework. Other than that, that's it.
Take a note of that. Don't like homework. No one else on stage.
All right, I'm Lucas Segways. I'm from a small resort outside of Grenfell, Saskatchewan, and I guess lately I just realized that I should be participating more in school, and I'm going into grade 11, and last year I realized that all these programs that the teachers set up can really help me, and so I started participating more, and I'm really nervous, so let's just move on.
All right. Thank you, Paul. I wanted to get you to be able to break the ice and take a deep breath and relax. I'm just stand up here and give your shot. Okay. So what you see up here, and I think it's an interesting group, and it's reflective. We got people from big cities, small communities, all across the country. We've got overachievers. We've got kids who've had tremendous successes, and we've also got kids up here who've had some serious struggles. And I think that that's pretty accurate when we look at we'd all love Laurence. Because I love school and everything about it. Sadly, not all students are like that. So what I think and how I want to kick off our conversation here, we'll do this as I talk to some of the kids, is, and I mentioned this to them before, I said, you know, in the world of journalism, we don't go out to the airport every day and report on planes landing safely. That would be kind of boring. So what we do is we report on plane crashes, because that tends to get your attention. So what I ask these kids to think about is, let's not talk about everything that's great about school. Butter your bread so you all go home feeling great about yourselves, and that's your work as trustees, but some of the obstacles that some of these students encounter. And I think that is where we need to start the conversation, is on that point of tension. Because if we start highlighting some of the problems and some of the issues that some of them have dealt with, we can also then obviously start working towards some of their suggestions about how we can overcome this. So, why don't we start
With obstacles?
Yeah.
Okay, well, in Newfoundland, where I'm from, a big obstacle in my school is when people always see their friends after they graduate or they drop out, they can just hop on a plane, the next plane, and go to Alberta or somewhere in Ontario and just get a job with no education and make $40 an hour and come back home to Newfoundland and show off all their cool trucks, their vehicles, and their nice clothes. Some people my age in school, they're like, why do I need to go to class? Why do I need to actually go to school if these guys are coming home and their life is great and they hardly did anything? So that's what the problem with my school, people can drop out. They don't have to worry about the rest of their lives because they think that everything is going to be stable for them in Alberta to get a job with no education.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big one, especially coming from a lot of rural communities, but especially we're seeing it now in Newfoundland, and the brain drain that's happened there, especially with the youth. And they say, what's the point? And that's a tough question to answer for a lot of trustees, administrators, principals that are out there. How do we answer that? What's the point? And you raise a good one. Just being reminded, we're doing everything we can for the audio. We're going to take our time as we speak, but you guys are doing their best to be able to fix it. Amelia, what about you?
Obstacles?
Yeah.
I face? Well, this past year, the end of my semester had to be one of the hardest times I've ever had because I got rejected twice for funding. So I went to school with no income whatsoever. And so I had to make sure I go to school, do my work, do my homework, with no food in the fridge or in the cupboards. No way to buy anything, to get anything. And I still stuck to my guns and I just went to school. Just because when I was in school, I felt like I had it gave me a reason to want to keep going, you know. I'm very thankful that, you know, I'm good at school.
Well, what did you see around you in terms of friends and family members?
It's kind of funny too, because like when we started going to school, I had 3 cousins that I was living with, and you know they got all funded because their parents were connected and stuff, so they got money. First month they got their money, they all dropped out. And so one by one, boom, boom, boom. Before I knew it, I was living alone in the apartment, and then I was still trying to get funding, trying to find a job, but no luck. And left and right, I saw people dropping out, my friends, and then people at school, less and less people were coming. And yet I wondered to myself, like, why the heck can't these people come? Like, what's so hard about it? You can't get up in the morning and come to school and do your work. What's so hard about that? You get money, you get income.
If I only knew someone in politics involved with neighborhood affairs. I'll introduce you after the thing. Jennifer, why don't you, what about you? Speaking of.
When I came into high school, I had a lot of anxiety issues. I suffered from depression, and 2 out of the 3 divisions I went to, I felt like they didn't want me there. I just felt like they were trying to push me out. And when I came to Gimli High School, which is in Manitoba, I received a tremendous amount of support, and that is what I needed. Because when somebody tries to, when you don't feel comfortable in your school, you don't want to go. When you feel your teachers don't don't appreciate you, you feel like your teachers think that you can't succeed, and you don't want to go. So when I had teachers telling me that I was doing good, that I was smart, and that it just, to be encouraged, to have somebody on your side, it helps so much. And then once you start to do better, it's just, it just keeps going. It's a snowball effect. Once you get that first award, once you get that first good mark, you just want to see it go. You want to see more.
You're a bit of a school expert because you've been through 6 schools. Something like that. Yeah, and had some real struggles along the way. But the virtue of the fact you're sitting up here today is a real testament to who you are and the things you found inside you to keep you going to be.
Like I said before, I like school because it helps me push myself to the best of my abilities, and that's what I love about it. It's like a challenge, and I wish that people at my school felt that way as well. But sadly, in my school, a lot of people like to badmouth everything that happens, and so the school spirit is very, very low. And they even said that next year for the grade 10s that are going to grade 11, they're not going to know what's going to happen because barely any of them have been involved in school. And it really upsets me because being involved in school is what makes me love school. I love helping others. I love just being able to express myself in school, and just by complaining about little things, it doesn't go anywhere, and you're just not gonna have a good time, and you're not gonna enjoy yourself. And so I really love to promote the school spirit.
Fantastic. And you were involved in so many things, and like Patricia as well. I was just looking at Patricia, who was student council. You've done so many things. Vice president, your basketball, football, rugby, tutoring, as you were mentioning. But as I went through and reading some of the notes on Patricia, one of the things that stood out to me, and here's a kid who succeeded in so many things, is you also dealt with bullying. So why don't you tell us a little about what you went through in school, Patricia?
Yeah, bullying basically was a big part of my life for so many years, countless years. This is working. Not working. So yeah, I've dealt with bullying all my years of elementary school, basically, and then high school and continued on because it's the same people going to the same school. And what you were saying is that I was involved in so many things, and what's weird is that I was bullied and involved. And as I said yesterday to all of you, it's like I was involved, so I felt like I was worth something. I had to please myself in order to please others a little bit. And I think teachers have no idea how bullying is such a part of high school. Teenagers can be very, very mean, and through Facebook and through so many social networks, it's like they're persecuting victims. But what I want to say today is that these victims are persecuted because of their weakness. And instead of searching for like solutions to bullying, we should maybe look at the cause of bullying and work at the confidence of students. Because if someone is confident, I know that when I was walking through school and people were, let's say, calling out names and saying I was fat and everything, and they knew it affected me, that's why they continue to do so. So if we work on how students can project an image of strength a little bit, maybe that would be better and students feel safer at school.
Je pense que ça serait mieux si on utilise ça pour les étudiants. Okay. I'm going to I just wanted to picking up on what Patricia was saying, because when we were speaking yesterday, you also mentioned that in your school, you didn't feel you necessarily belonged. And yet again, when I look at your list, you've done all these things. So explain to me why you felt that sometimes you didn't belong, but on the other hand, you were on every group and committee in the school. Why was that?
Well, for me personally, I come from a pretty small town of about 7,000 people. There's about 450 kids in my school, 9 to 12. And with rural education, with learning in a small community, I'm sure many of you can agree with me that there's a sense of connection, a sense of community that is felt in a small town that just simply can't be experienced or recreated in a big city or anywhere else. And I used to resent that, but I've grown to love learning in a rural environment. But one struggle that I think exists within small communities is a fear of, or a lack of understanding towards diversity and what it means to be diverse or different. I moved to Rocky Mountain House in the 9th grade. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anyone there. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified to start this new school and this new life. And I went to this school, and it was, I don't know the best way to put it, but it was a very white school. There was no racial diversity. There was no people that were obviously different or against the mold. And if you knew me, if you knew my personality, I'm not your typical small town Alberta boy. I come from a ranching background, but I'm certainly not a rancher. I don't go dirt biking. I don't do the things that typical people do on a Friday night. And another thing as well is that I'm also a status Indian. My mother grew up and was raised and is a member of the Piikani Nation, which is in southern Alberta, and my father is white. My entire life I've been told over and over again that I'm not Native or that I'm Métis. And can I use the example I used last night?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And one thing that I think is really important is that the FNMI group of people, they're always clustered together. It's always FNMI. But there's a difference between each group. Like there's the First Nations, there's the Métis and the Inuit. I'm not Métis. I am a status Indian. I'm Blackfoot. That's my culture. And the Métis people have their culture. So to be told time and time again that I don't understand my own ancestry and where I'm from, my origins, my background, is really disheartening for me as a student. And I'm sure for other people that feel different for many different reasons, to be denied your culture in somewhere where you're there every day. And as a result, you feel you need to hide things because people don't believe you or they don't agree with you because you're not dark enough or you're not white enough or...
Let me ask you this. How does your school curriculum enlighten people in your school? Because you say the school doesn't really reflect that diversity. Does your curriculum reflect that diversity? Does it teach about First Nations people, about the history, about who they are?
It teaches about the history, but I think there's perceptions that are created just within the community. People like to make these stereotypes and these racial assumptions that just simply aren't always true. Like there are obstacles that everyone overcomes in their life. There are people, good and bad people, no matter what race you are, no matter who you are, you'll encounter people like that. And I feel the curriculum in a lot of ways does talk about the history, but it doesn't talk about the current struggles that Aboriginal people face.
I know you're touching a little on that yesterday with Paul Martin and with Buffy Savory. I just want to, and as a reminder, because we're talking about coming from a small town, let's play that first clip from whoever I'm talking to out loud here. The first video clip that we have from Nitohad School Board. We can play that one. Just a reminder that, you know, for some of you who know this, who deal firsthand, that some of these schools are very rural, and it takes a lot just to get the kids from the front door of their home into the front door of the school. And there's a great clip that's out there from Littoral, so let's take a look at that as a reminder. School bus, they have a school helicopter. I like that. It wasn't like that when I was a kid. I want to get just from you too, because I know you've come from a smaller community, and the idea too, as you mentioned in your notes, we're talking about some of the obstacles, is there's not always, you know, when you come from the big city and you can look and you can aspire to say, oh, I want to be that person or this person because it's around you. When you come from a smaller community, not a lot of jobs that you can point to. So what are some of the obstacles, that, especially for you or for keeping kids in school, to say there's a point?
Well, like Tyson here from Newfoundland said, there's really like a problem at the Atlantic provinces with declining enrollment because everyone is just there to get their grade 12 so they can go to either Alberta or Northern Ontario with pretty much no education, taking all the minimal requirements in high school. In the government where I come from, the government of Nova Scotia just introduced an attendance policy this year where you have to go to school. Well, obviously you have to go to school, but if you miss up to 16 classes unexcused, like, of course, like specialist appointments and all this would be exempt from this, you lose credit for that course, the whole course, and you can appeal it, but there are people that have been stopped from graduating this year because of this policy. It was a pilot program put in this year. Of course, it does benefit the people that are there anyway, but say if you were graduating in June and you were a good student, you were there every day, people, like there's been cases of people saving up their 16 classes they could miss so they could take the last week off of school before exams. But I just don't think it's fair to those kids that may like have well, of course health problems would be exempt, but may like have family issues or drug problems or something like that, and them not being in school, for them to be denied the credit for the course, and which would keep them from graduating or moving on. That's about it.
Interesting situation, because you're heavily involved in your school, and he's also got two jobs. So another underachiever up here. I'll give it over to you. And you're in Toronto, so you're coming from obviously a completely different landscape. But what are some of the obstacles that you're seeing in your school around you that you think can be an impediment for keeping kids in school or for getting the most out of their schools?
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned, immigrant family, right? And in Toronto, it's filled with such a diverse city. Southern Ontario is such a diverse area. But a lot of parents, when they come into Canada, they want the best for their children. And sometimes their best is not the same best as what their students want, what their children want. And of course, I'm a firm believer that any student can do whatever they wish to do with their lives, but not what their parents wish to do with their students' lives.
And it's hard because, I mean, as a school board, as trustees, you can't go into parents' house or into students' house and tell parents how to raise their kids, right? But at the same time, I know that if I wasn't lucky enough to have two parents that understood how I could succeed and how I could get through the tough times, I wouldn't be where I am today. And furthermore, it's also with teachers. Teachers can play the role that some parents might not be playing in their own households. And unfortunately, there's such things as good teachers and bad teachers. And we can name that one, we have the ability to say that one teacher can do a better job than others, and that's because some teachers can really relate to students, who can really get them moving throughout their lives, and can find them a career as opposed to a job. And then we have some teachers that are simply there just to teach and might not be able to see the skills that students face every day. I mean, I think that as a teacher, you can see bullying going on in your classrooms. You can see it in the hallways. But if you choose to ignore it, the students are going to go down the wrong path. If you choose to do something about it, if you choose to help them out and to get them through it, it can make all the difference in the world.
But let me ask you this, in your position as a student trustee, do you feel, I mean, you have a voice, but do you feel there's an ear listening to the concerns that you may have?
I mean, I definitely do think so, right? And I'm really glad that I'm lucky enough to be in Ontario where we have student trustees mandated in all our school boards. And I think you guys should all do that. But besides that, it's the fact that, I mean, when the province mandates that position in every school board, it is giving students the outlet, right? It's giving students the perspective that they know that there is a way to get their voices heard, and whether you come through me or you speak up at the board yourself, or you speak with your friends that are in a student senate, right? It's all about letting students know that they can be heard, right? And ultimately, if your suggestions are valid, and all suggestions are valid, but if your suggestions can make concrete change in your school board, in your school, or even in your classroom, there is someone to hear that. And I mean, whether you're a student or a teacher or a parent, improving the classroom is everyone's job, right? And students are in the classroom, so we got it.
And arguably that's why we're all here today, right? Is to do just that.
Yeah.
So listen to these people. Thank you. And talking about that, obviously there's always a role for parents to play, and when you're lucky enough to come from a two-parent stable home, you're lucky. And as you all know, that is not always the case. And Lucas, I want you to talk a little about, I mean, you had a lot of uncertainty in your house growing up, and you, I think, should be a statistic for one of the kids who didn't go to school. But you're not. Yeah. So tell us a little about some of the troubles that you had to overcome in your family life.
Okay, well, I guess growing up, I wasn't really financially stable, and so my mother raising me and my brother and my 3 cousins, along with my little sister, wasn't really, I don't know, secure, but she did it, and I'm proud to say that I was there and I helped. But growing up like that, I can see that, like, I'm grateful to be in a small community and have the connections that I do with my teachers and the staff at my school. But all I can say is that, like, I don't know, to improve on the education that I have, I guess it would all have to be all about attitude. Like, I've suffered from bullying, and I'm not gonna lie, I have bullied, but I know that I've stopped, and I know the effect. And it's all about attitude and connections with authority, I guess.
Like, let me ask you this though: what kept you going back to school when you saw there were a lot of reasons that you could have dropped out, things weren't great at home, or you could have gone in different directions? So why did you keep going back to school?
Because I guess just seeing how people suffer, not like if they drop out, then they have a career, a job, and they can live. But I know that they can do better, and that if I go that way, I know that I'll have missed out on a lot of opportunities that I've been presented with.
Did you figure that out yourself, or did someone lay that out for you?
I kind of figured it out myself, like seeing a bunch of people in my community like suffer because they didn't commit to education or even to like earning a career that they'll enjoy and that pays well. I kind of figured it out because, like, I guess I don't come from like a rich family, and I know that I'll have to earn it, but I know that I'm able to. I can.
You know what you're going to be? You're going to be a role model. Good for you. What this is touching on here is, and as you all well know, or many of you I'm sure know in your experiences, is that you're up against so many obstacles yourselves. The students are up against obstacles, but you're up against obstacles as you're trying to create a safe environment for these students who are dealing with so much. So I want to play the second clip we've got here from the Riverside School Board, and this is an eye-opener as it talks about some of the experiences that the students are struggling with in their own personal lives. Take a look. Wow. And you get a scope, the idea of some of the things you're dealing with, and sometimes you don't even know the full story until you start hearing. You sit down and have an opportunity, if you get the kids to open up, the incredible things that come out. Jennifer. So, Jennifer, we asked the students to give us some notes on them before, and I just wanted to get Jennifer to touch on her experience, because you say from about 14 to 17, school was non-existent for me. You were out of school simply to a complete unwillingness to attend. So tell me a little about those years and what school meant to you in those dark years that you had.
Well, those years, it just didn't matter to me. I went to school to see my friends, who weren't really my friends. It just,
Sorry.
It's hard. Once you get kicked out of school once, it's so hard to go back. It just seems so not worth it. You think that you don't need it. You think that you can live your life without high school, and that was my 14-year-old brain. And I realized you can't do that. I was kicked out of school because I was dating a girl, and they didn't want me. They didn't want that in their school. They didn't appreciate that. And just when somebody tells you you don't belong, you know, it hurts. You don't. I'm freezing up here.
You want school to be a safe place.
I mean.
And it wasn't for you.
No. If I had two principals looking me in the eye and pretty much telling me, you don't belong in my school. You are different, you have issues, I don't want you influencing my other students. But when I moved, I had a teacher, I had two teachers, and it wasn't even, you know, they all of a sudden were like, oh, you know, it was just, they said hello to me in the hallway, they smiled at me, they said, how are you doing? And slowly those connections grew, and it's just overwhelming when you receive so much support.
Well, you take a breath, and we'll get to that, because one of the things that I wanted the students to think about and to tell you some of the obstacles, so that you all have an idea about the obstacles that they deal with in their own lives, in their communities. But by virtue of the facts that we mentioned before, that they're all here, is testament to success with either the schools, teachers, or whatever it may be. And there's a reason they're all here, and there's a reason they haven't all given up. And what I think is great for you is somebody didn't give up on you. Other people did. There are a few other people out there who didn't give up on you. And that made you believe in yourself, and it also made you believe in your future. You went back to school, and now you're doing well at school, and that's great. And that's the difference, that sometimes one person can make or break a child's future. And for you as trustees, you may look and see a sea of children out there. But we can never, ever lose sight of the fact that they're each and every one of them. They're individuals, they all have different stories. If you treat them as a group, you lose Jennifer. She's gone. And luckily, someone out there didn't. And just look at you and say, you don't fit in, you're out, move on. You can't forget that. Because if somebody would have forgotten it, she would not be sitting here today. And I'm so glad you are sitting here with us today, Jennifer. You had mentioned before, you know, you're struggling with money, and you've seen around you a lot of other people who were dropping out of school. So tell us, tell the room, why you didn't drop out like everyone else what happened inside the school? Was there a teacher? What happened? Who reached out to you? Who convinced you to say that school was a good road, a good path for your future?
Well, this year was actually the first year that I've actually been in a school that had a wide variety of, people, like immigrants from all over the world. And my English teacher this past year, she's from Africa, and I was in the beginning of the school year, I was really having a hard time because I got kicked out of the place I was living, so I had to find a place to live while trying to go to school. And I missed a few days at a time, and then I'd show up and she's like, "Oh, you're still coming? You're not gonna drop out yet?" I was like, "No, I'm not gonna drop out." I kept coming and I kept coming. And then she started to realize, like, what's wrong? Why do you keep, why don't you come to school every day? I said, "Well, got kicked out, got no money, having a hard time right now." She just supported me so much, and she shared some of her stories about when she came here from Africa, how she had to start from the bottom again, how she was a teacher over there and she had to come to Canada and re-obtain her education and start from the bottom to the top again. And it just motivated me. She was so positive, and so it helped me so much, and it just made me want to keep coming. And it was really helpful. I'm actually pretty damn surprised I didn't quit.
Glad you're here. That's great. I love that. Give it over to you as well. You were talking about too, I mean, in your home life, and you had the wonderful immigrant experience, which is, we're going to put the weight of the world on your shoulders, go ahead and have a great day, son. And, that's pretty heavy on you. Obviously, you're standing tall and you're succeeding. But what role did the school play in helping you? Because I know there are a lot of other immigrant kids who come in, that weight of the world crushes them. And school becomes a place that is always measuring them, and they get sick of always being measured, because in the eyes, sometimes in their parents, they can never measure up. And school reminds them of that. So what role did school play for you in helping to build your confidence?
I mean, I immigrated at a very young age, 4 years old. Thinking back, I think the fact that there were many immigrants in my school helped out, right? I wasn't alone. And there were programs and there was support systems for ESL students, English as a second language students, and where they put us all together and they taught us the language together, and we grew up, feeling part of the school. To go into your second question, which was how I measured up to what my parents expected. It helped having good parents that understood that you can't expect the world out of anyone, right? But it also helped that I had, not only did my parents believe in me instead of just expecting stuff out of me, but also I had teachers, and I can safely say in every single school I've been in, I've had at least one teacher or a vice principal or a principal that I can relate to, and that I can sit down and talk to, and that, at the end of the day, regardless of what my parents would tell me, I had a second opinion. I had an adult that has lived through the experience and that has gone in a position to tell me and to help me out in what I want to aspire. And I know that if my vice principal in high school hadn't supported me in my endeavors for student trustee, I would not be here, or I wouldn't be a student trustee at least. And I know that though my parents wanted me to be a student trustee, until I had a teacher that I could relate to and that I really enjoyed speaking with tell me the same thing, it's not at all the same as just your parents telling you.
What I hear here, and just something for you to think about, is you saw a bit of yourself in your school. You saw a bit of yourself reflected in your school, in the kinds of the faces that you saw, what you were hearing, that you felt like you were part of that school community, which for someone who's coming from a different country, whose parents come from a different country, that says a lot. Because we know what the inverse is if you don't feel the curriculum, the staff, anything reflects who you are, it may not inspire you to carry on with that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I just want to ask you, because you were mentioning before that the challenge you have, especially in a community where everyone wants to get the heck out and get a job out of the oil patch, what was it in the school that made you say, actually, I see my future in school rather than necessarily in Alberta?
Well, for me, like looking at all these other people and their stories, mine is so much different. I've never ever had a problem in school. The school has always come easy to me because I've always made the teams and friends have come easy too. And I'm so grateful for that. Everybody says that Monday is usually the worst day of the week, right? Everything starts over again. But for me, that was usually the best day of the week because I knew Monday after school I had a basketball practice. So when I woke up that morning, I'm like, yes, awesome. I go to school today, I do all my stuff, the day ends, I can play basketball. And for me, I really want to get a good job. My plan for the future is to do something in medicine, and I can't do that with grade 12, only grade 12 at home.
So was it your parents? Was it the school? Was there a teacher? Was there something that inspired you to say, this is the route I want to take?
No, not really. There's always been supporters behind me. Just say, like, you do what you got to do. We know that you can make the right choices for yourself, but whatever your choices are, we'll be behind you. And I've been my own determination.
But a good thing for you, though, was that your school provided an outlet for that.
Yes.
So that you had the teams, you had the activities, so if you wanted to get involved, there was plenty to get involved in.
Sure.
And that made a big difference for you. Right. All right, good. That's good to know. And I know, Hans, you had a leadership program. Tell us about that, because we were chatting yesterday as I was getting to know these students. You went in one way and you came out a different way. So who were you before going into that leadership program, and what difference did it make?
When I started high school, I was very shy, like any other student, really. I was not involved in school. I just tried to make new friends, just try to keep up with school since it's so different from elementary. And in secondary too, my friend talked about going to a leadership camp. And this leadership camp was organized by my school, and it was open from anyone from grade 7 to grade 11. And basically what happens is that you go to this camp, and I think it's in Saint-Joliette, and they put you in a team of 4, and you're like maybe like 150, 200 students, and you meet these new people that go to your school, but that you never met, and maybe you've seen but never spoken to, and you just do leadership-related activities. Like you learn to communicate, to work as a team, to speak up, and it was just, like, it opened my eyes, and it made me want to become a leader. Seeing those grade 11 students helping the younger ones like me, it just made me want to become like them. I wanted to be able to speak to people without needing to hide things. And it just opened up. So after that, started secondary 3, I tried to be involved in things. I started dancing, and I was on a dance troupe, and I started dancing, performing on stage, and I also loved that. So that really opened up, and it helped me, and I really wish that students took part of the leadership. And actually, I have a younger brother, and he's starting high school this year, and he asked me, what should I do in high school? Like, how do I make more friends? And I said, leadership. Go to leadership camp. Start when you're younger, and you'll build up such a good confidence about yourself, and you'll feel good about yourself. And that's what made me enjoy school.
Great. I think it's great to know that you weren't that person going in, but the school provided that opportunity for you. And, you know, we all want to see, we want to nurture these kids like we tend to our gardens and our lawns and see the amazing things that can grow from them. And you're living proof of that from this program that's out there. And I know you're all dealing with limited resources and everyone's stretched thin. But this, I love Laurent's story, just as a reminder of when you can get those programs, you can make these things available, the difference they can make in someone's life. And I think through your leadership now, you're going to go out and make a difference in so many other people's life. And I came from school. That's an amazing thing. And I'm happy for you that you've had that experience. It would be great if more kids could have that same experience. Okay, Patricia. You've had it, I think it's funny because, and I love the two of you together because I'm all about how much I love school and you're like, yeah, not so much. But, and you said it, and in your notes you said it too, about you weren't flying out the door every day saying, I can't wait to get to school. And Tyson and some of the others feel that way. Well, what was it for you then? You were getting bullied at school, you didn't always like the homework. You didn't always like what you were doing, and yet you kept going back and evolved. So what was it that kept you motivated, kept you going back?
What kept me in school is that doing all these things made me proud of myself. And like her and like everyone, it's these programs too. I was part of so many things. And as I said, I was in leadership concentration, and I went to school in the morning, and it was like him. It's, you come and you want to go because of the programs that you're going to be partying during the day, and that's what kept me going because I'm a normal kid. I don't like homework. I'm very lazy, and
very honest.
No, it's true. I mean, I was part of all the big things and all these great things, but it's the support of the staff at my school. It's amazing, honestly, because they care, you know? It's feeling that they care, that you're not a number, you're a person. And you come to school, and I had this one teacher, and every single day he came to school and he said hello. Every day to every one of his students, he said hello. How are you doing? And let's say you told him, like, I don't know, my boyfriend broke up with me or whatever. He remembered, he asked you about it later. And it's that they care, and it makes so much of a difference because you feel like you're part of something even though you're not. And what's also made a difference at school is that even though there was some smaller programs, we had this robotics club, these small programs, they touched everyone. You know, there was if you're into music, like Emilio said, you had the jazz band. And if you had more of an intellectual mind, you had the robotics club. There was not about the budget. It's not about the budget. It's not about the money. It's about it being there. You know, just the fact that it was there helped students go because they did what they love, and it helped them like grow and become themselves, become the best of themselves.
That's great. That's the opportunity. Schools are providing this opportunity, and whether your interests were out there, there was an opportunity for you to get involved. I like your comment that you said it was like they cared. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. And Lane, I saw you were nodding your head at that, so I just wanted you to pick up on that. And I mean, you who didn't always feel or don't feel that you necessarily fit in. What was it about the school that helped you fit in your own way?
Well, for me personally, the reason why I try to get so involved in so many different organizations and so many groups and things, there's a few reasons mostly. I'm a fan of pop culture, I won't lie. I look at the artists and things that inspire me in my real life, and I kind of want to create that in other people. I also was bullied when I first moved to Rocky, and I was bullied elsewhere at other schools as well. And instead of hiding away, not drawing attention to myself, I figured what better way to avoid people coming at me than to be right out in the open, to be kind of like an advocate for people that are different, that go through different struggles.
And did your school support you with that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, there's so many different initiatives that we brought forward as far as like anti-bullying days and awareness days and things like that have come forward as a result of, I don't want to say my work, but our work as a council and things. And
was there a teacher or someone that you feel made a difference for you? Because I think your story is interesting. Because there are a lot of, and when I just spent my few days at Tillman Wright, I met a lot of kids who were falling through the cracks because they had encountered bullying, because they felt they didn't belong. And as best as the teachers and the principal tried, cracks do form in schools, and kids fall through. And I just want to know why you didn't.
well, there was one teacher. There is a teacher. She's my favorite teacher when I think back of it. And she's married to a Native man and she's white. So she has a child that's just like me. So when I shared my story, she understood. She didn't assume. She didn't say that that's not who you are. She took me seriously. She understood that that's a part of my heritage. That's a part of my life that I care so deeply about. And she offered me the opportunity just to speak up in class and to hand in assignments, and she built me up and she raised me up. And there's so many other people in these schools that give me the opportunity. And coming from a small community, everyone knows everyone. Everybody eventually learns your story. They know your name. They know who you are. And it's similar to what Patricia said. Just having a teacher say hello to you in the morning can make your entire day. Just seeing that people care means more than anyone will ever know. More than that person will ever know.
Doesn't seem like a lot, does it? But it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
I think that's an important point to make, is that small things can make a big, big difference. Now you, who's going to be running the world one day, I want to know what difference school made for you. Because you're on, I mean, you mentioned working 2 jobs already, you were involved in so many things. I'm sure your family was a big part of that. But what role did school play in that, in really, nurturing this appetite that you have?
Well, it's basically the teachers are what makes school fun where I come from. Like, if the teachers get involved with, like, we have a student council advisor teacher, so like you can tell this person loves their job if they just want to like stay after hours or during lunchtime, and like other people taking on extra things that they don't have to, it just shows that they really care about you and want you to succeed, stuff like that.
And did you have a teacher that you remember, or something about the school that kept you, unlike other people who maybe wanted to get out early, that kept you wanting to go further?
Well, I took integrated French in high school, and basically we had the same class, exact same class since I was in grade 7. So we had the same teacher our 3 years of middle school or junior high, and then we had the same teacher in high school. So they really got to know us. Like, we went on field trips to, like, say, Boston Pizza one night or stuff like that. Like, they just went the extra mile, like, to make sure you're having a good time and liking school and learning French.
Félicitations. All right, so. I'm watching the clock here, and I'm watching the room, because I know you've all been through a few days, and I don't want you to keep any of you longer, and I certainly don't want to keep any of the students longer than you've been great in sports up here, by the way. Great job up here. So what I want to do, what I'd like to do here is we're going to get some recommendations, okay? Now, I told the students this yesterday when we met. I said, take advantage of this opportunity that you have right now. Because too often I think students feel like they don't have a voice. That if they have something to say, people aren't listening. And I said, right now, you got a whole room. They're listening, and take advantage of that. So as I said to them, think about what it would be like if you got to be king or queen for the day, and you could say something to your school about how you make your school experience better. Whether it's you personally, or if it's bigger than that, about how the whole school system could make the experience better, keep kids from dropping out, or whatever it may be. I asked you all to think about that. And So what we'll do a whip around with that, with some suggestions that people may have. And then we do have also the opportunity, we've got some mics set up. Well, I guess I've got one in my hand right now. But a mic over here that's set up. So if any of you have questions or comments and you'd like to have anything to say or ask any students their own experiences, I would invite you to do that. And then we can wrap up and people can get on their way. Linton, I saw that yawn. And I know why you're yawning. But I was not at Ashton's at 3 in the morning. Linton apparently was the oldest and tallest person at Ashton's last night. At 3 in the morning. Okay, so why don't we zip around the horn. Lucas, you want to? Yeah, give her. So if you had some recommendations that you could give for your school to make either your experience better or your school experience, your school better, what would you say if you could be running and changing your school?
Probably homework, I guess.
More homework, right? I got that right? No, make a note, more homework.
Less homework, because I know that in some classes I get a low mark because most of the assignments are assigned as homework, and I guess sometimes I wouldn't get enough time in class to work on something, and taking it home wouldn't really help. So
why not?
Because I know when I go home to get away from school, just to like relax, you know, and getting like half my classes and homework done the same day doesn't really help. So I'd say less homework.
Less homework.
Or more class time.
Or more class time. Yeah, or maybe you sort of split the difference and there could be some time that could be reserved for homework in school.
I guess. But
I know people don't necessarily want to stay longer, and for schools, there are a lot of issues in keeping teachers longer. But for a lot of kids, and I think it reflects your own home life, also going home with homework isn't a nice, quiet place to work all the time, and it can also be a place where there are a lot of challenges at home. So adding homework onto that, it doesn't make home life any better. Okay, anything else? What about the teachers there, beyond homework? Do you think that you're learning the kind of courses that inspire the kids in your community to stay in school, that it interests them? Does it reflect what they are curious about and what they want to know more about?
yeah, we have in our school system, we have a lot of, like, if you choose a class, then they provide a ride to that class if it's at another school, and it helps, I guess. But I know that some students, like some of my friends, aren't interested in staying in school, and they look up to me to kind of try and inspire them. And it's hard, but I know that I can talk to them and try and persuade them. Yes.
Be the change. Patricia, you get to be at your school, and I know you're going to say you're going to agree with Lucas. No more homework. For the love of God, stop the homework. Okay, so we don't need to reestablish that point. But what else for you? I mean, what recommendations, advice can you give these people here about how they can, what they can take from this and maybe help make their own schools and school boards better?
Besides the available programs I was talking about, it's a difficult task to ask, but don't put too much pressure on students. We have so much pressure, and a lot of it is ourselves putting pressure on ourselves, but push them to be the best of themselves, of course. Get them to participate in this, like this leadership camp like she did, or I was asked by a teacher to be part of student council. So that made a whole difference, but don't put too much pressure on them. If they don't want to talk, don't go get them. Like Jennifer said yesterday, if you go too much, they're just going to pull back, and that's when they fall. So as a teacher, it's hard because you have to balance everything, but just be there for them. I had a couple teachers that were just there in the room every single lunch hour. They're just there. They eat their lunch. It's not like they have no life there, but they eat their lunch and they're there for the students. And I could just walk in super pissed about something and just talk for 5 minutes straight, and she would just listen to me, give me advice, and I would go the rest of my day. But just the fact that she was there in her class, it made a really big difference. So, as I said, just care about your students, not as numbers, but as individuals. That's really, really important. And create opportunities too.
Right on.
Well, first, actually, I don't have a student council at my school, so I would tremendously suggest that at my school.
Why don't you have a student council?
I don't know. They abolished it a few years ago before I came, and then they started this thing called spirit teams, which hasn't really worked well. So I would recommend that. But me, the biggest struggle at school is school spirit. There are a lot of clubs, there are a lot of teachers that are willing to be part of them to help students, but I don't know, the students are just, they don't want to be part of it. They just want to sometimes be lazy or just go home and do their own things. And I really, really want to stress or the teachers, the administration, to push the students to be part of something, to do something that they enjoy. There's so many things available at school, and for like example, leadership camp. But what's great so far is that at my school, they actually start funding leadership. So it doesn't cost that much to go. I think it costs $50 instead of $200-300 per student, which is amazing. And I really want to stress that so that people can do what they love at school, so that they can stay in school and not have to do it at home or anything.
One recommendation I'd have would just be to have a greater emphasis on respect. Last night, Jennifer and I were talking, and we kind of came to the consensus that it's not about liking everyone or agreeing with their decisions, backgrounds, or lifestyles. It's about respecting people, understanding, and accepting that this is how people live their lives. Everybody's different, and not everyone's the same. That's what makes this world such a beautiful place, and what makes Canada so great in particular, is that there is this diversity in this country, and I feel that we just need to have a greater emphasis on informing people of these cultural differences and making them known within the school and promoting them so people don't feel like they have to deny their own identities within their school communities.
So if that starts from the top in the schools, you think that that's going to trickle down to the students, and the students will see each other in that way?
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I don't really have much to recommend for my school board because I've seen a lot of change over the past 2 years, especially after I made my little documentary. You know, more things have been introduced into our school system. You know, we got like we call the wellness. So we go to like.
Okay, but you know you're doing your fast forwarding, okay? Because they don't know about your documentary.
Okay.
Now I know you just give us an idea, because I think what was really interesting, we talked about this last night, that we got to know each other. You know, you went out and made a documentary, you handed over your school, and then you saw things start to change a little. You're not sure if it was because of that or that was part of it. But just give us a quick idea about what you did.
Well, what had happened is an organization came to the school I was attending in Maniwaki called the Wabaguni Mobile, and it's you know, it's a non-profit organization. They just travel to different communities and, you know, ask people if they have ideas and, you know, to present it and make it happen. And one day they came to the school and they, you know, showed us the cameras and stuff, and I was so interested. I wrote like 10 pages in an afternoon and I presented it to them, and the next day we started filming, and we went to Parliament Hill, and my nation was having a march. And I had cameras and I had my people standing there with me as we were marching to Parliament Hill to go and discuss the land claim that we were putting down. And I felt so good, you know? I got all that footage of all my people at Parliament Hill together, standing strong. Went back to Maniwaki next day, went up to the bush up in into our territory, and we got footage from the bush. You know, after putting it all together, it's like it was a natural high, and then I was coming down, and I realized, oh crap, what did I do? Did I really just do this? It was a really sobering moment, and my teacher at the time, my English teacher, she was so impressed. You know, I don't know. I guess it was weird. It just happened, like, and things started to change by the next year. You know, there was extra credit courses that were being brought in and stuff, and now this year, seeing in Hull, they have, you know, like what you call circuits. You know, you could either go do yoga, meditate, work out, go in the gym. It's so different now for some reason, and I feel like I actually was a part of that because I did something on my own time. I brought it to school, I got a credit for it, and as time passed, I got to see things change. And one thing I would recommend for teachers is don't ever talk down on the student. Always listen, always be ready for anything, because you never know what that student's going through, what that person's thinking. You never know, like, if that person's just about to snap and you talk down on them, that person could, like, something bad could happen. So always listen, because no one knows, you know, what's really going on. That's all I got to say. Like,
well, you know what I think your English teacher saw in you when they saw the footage that you had done is they saw potential. And maybe they hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
And they found something in you that you lit up. And you said, I really love this. And the teacher said, wow, there's a spark there. Throw a little gas on that, incredible things are going to happen. And they're happening for you right now. Right on.
So ultimately, I think that the role of the school board is to keep students in school. And you can't force students to stay in school, but you can, inside the classroom or outside the classroom, really make an environment that they want to be in. And I think outside the classroom, it's not easy, but to be able to make and to maintain a safe learning environment where everyone feels involved and a part of the larger group, but not losing their same self-identity, that's the ultimate goal. And I mean, when students feel like they have a place in their school, when students want to wake up in the morning to go to school, whether it's for a sports team, or whether it's for a club, or whether it's for their favorite class, it makes all the difference. And inside the classroom, I think we need to take the studies past the textbook and make it a more holistic approach towards any subject that you're learning. Because ultimately, if you can't relate to the course that you're taking, what's the point? And teachers have the ability. I mean, I know teachers can take their courses in many different directions. And for them to be able to ultimately relate it back to what's going to go on in the student's life when they get home or in the next few years, it makes all the difference. And that's what finds them, again, the career as opposed to the job. That's what gets them, you know, understanding the value of that high school diploma, and understanding the value of staying and pushing through all the different obstacles that come from across.
You know, I hate the expression because it's so overused, which is think outside the box. But I think school can often feel like a box for a lot of students.
Think outside the classroom.
Think outside the classroom is the way to approach it. And your experience really also touches on that as well, that if you can think outside of what is your core curriculum out there, or take it and interpret it in a different way, you can inspire students to see it in a different way, to get them more involved and more engaged in what they're doing.
And that's exactly it. I mean, I don't know if students always see that at first glance, whether their course is going to help them out in the future. But if they do realize that, thanks to the teacher, thanks to anyone in the school, it makes all the difference.
Right on. Great stuff.
Well, I just want to back up what Harad said. Like, what's the point of having someone in the class if they're never going to use it? Like, if you have someone in math and you're doing algebra or something and they're going to be a welder, like, there's no point. But like, there's some people that go into high school and they have the mindset. Like, I know I'm not going to university, maybe community college, I don't know. But if not, I'm going to Alberta to work in the oil sands, or now even Halifax with the shipbuilding contract to get something for that. So like, my recommendation to the school boards where I come from would be like to offer more classes in these areas, so you don't have someone stuck in a chemistry class that's going to Alberta, right? Or like to offer courses that would help them out with the shipbuilding contract. Again, like another recommendation would be like for the teachers to be more involved in their school, because some of the teachers from my school, they come, they teach, they have an off period, they go down, or they go home, or go out to eat, come back, and then go home again at the end of the day. Like, the teachers that made my high school experience amazing were the ones that stayed, that were like part of clubs, that like advised student councils, like stuff like that. Like, they really made the difference. And I was talking to some of these guys last night, like, they don't have any kind of like travel groups or stuff like that. Well, where I come from, like, our school board loves travel groups. We had some to India this year, where for the Free the Children, that they were talking about on the screen there. Yep. They help build schools. Like we had, and all teachers become involved in this. They do all the fundraising, help you fundraise. Like I've been to New York, like Washington, and Disney World with the band. Like all these teachers love what they're doing, because why would I want to give up my March break to go to New York and hang out with kids that I teach every day for a week for, if I didn't love what I was doing?
Good point, I like that. Great stuff.
Well, in my opinion, as many of you may or may not have noticed,
I think that it's all about extracurricular activities being available for everyone in the school. Like, obviously, a sports team can only take so many people, and only certain kinds of people. But there needs to be so many other things available. There should be something in your school, an extracurricular activity available to every walk of life in your school, so that it'll give them something to do while they're at school, something to look forward to, and something to be excited for, and something to enjoy school where they can just relax and spend time with people, and something to attract them to school.
So you could make school, what's the word? Fun.
Yeah. Instead of just like all day, you'll probably spend like five hours a day sitting in a hard, uncomfortable chair, writing notes, like for an hour each class, with like 10-minute recess break, an hour or 50-minute lunch. And then even to go back on the homework thing, like how many times have I got out of school at 2:15, go home, as soon as I get off the bus, I go up in my room, take my books out, put it down on the desk, write till supper, stop, eat, and then go back to my books until I go to bed. And then it might be like that for the next day or two, with so much homework and so much stuff to do that when I get I don't get any time to rest, or I'm just completely exhausted, and it's just way too much, right? So much stress, you don't have to reflect on anything.
We got to put the fun back into the fundamentals. Yes, we can do that. We can do that. All right.
What I want to say is that school, from somebody that's been out of school and been a lot of different places, high school isn't real life, and I feel that some teachers tend to forget that. And it's hard to prepare every student as best you can for the real world, because you don't know where they're going, and you don't know what they don't know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I know that. So there's two programs in my school. One of them is career technology studies, and you get to go to a business in the community, and you get a credit for just volunteering there. And you don't have to do it during school hours, you can do it after school. And that really gave me a sense of community. It helped me get jobs, it helped me make valuable connections in my town. And I highly recommend that to every school, because it gives you, it shows you what life is, it shows you how to work. And the other one is that we have a divisional student council, and I was on that. And I was elected board representative. That means that I had to go to board meetings and I had to kind of report on what our student council did. And that taught me so much. It taught me how to speak to a group of people. It taught me how to attend meetings. It taught me how to organize myself. And to be in the room with all the top dogs, to know that they are listening to you, and you know that you are actually speaking for the students. It's a great feeling, and I think that it really creates change, because when you're in the boardroom, you feel like it's not even school and the boardroom are not connected, but it's just they're two totally different worlds. But when you have a student there in that room, then it feels more real, I guess, because you have that voice.
I'm very glad that you found your voice today. I know it was tough for you at some points too, and I'm really glad you found your voice and your courage to share what you did with us today. Thank you. So, I know a lot of you are tired and you're thinking about getting on your bus or your plane or your train or whatever. We do have a few minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions or make any comments, we do have a few minutes. If not, we can wrap it up. Oh, I didn't even know there was a microphone there. My apologies. Okay.
I just wanted to say again on behalf of all of us how happy we are that you're here and how brave you are for all sharing your stories. And Jennifer in particular, I want to thank you for sharing a story about encountering homophobia from an administrator at a school level. And I just am wondering if any of you others have stories that you can share with us or things that we can do as policymakers to make schools more safe and inclusive spaces where we don't tolerate homophobia or transphobia from anyone. We often think about it from a peer-to-peer level, but we know that it exists on an administrator to staff level, staff to student level, and I'm wondering if you have any advice on what we can do as the people who make policies that are supposed to ensure your safety and make sure that our schools are safe places for all of you.
For me personally, I can speak from personal experience that it can be tough for LGBT students, especially in small rural communities where it's not always tolerated. And I just think like it needs to be implemented. These need to be in schools. It shouldn't be an option. It shouldn't be a choice to have these here, because there are students who want them. There are students who need them. There are students that depend on these, that need that inspiration to be told it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay to feel how you feel. And there are people here that do support you no matter what. And I just think it needs to start at a higher level. I know for me personally, that's one area where I don't see support for I or other students is in that area, because it is such a taboo topic. No one wants to think of people in terms of sexuality. I know there are probably lots of people that struggle with seeing people in that perspective, but it is something that makes a person who they are, and it should be something that should be embraced all over Canada, all over Congress, in every single town.
But also what Haran said about awareness. Awareness is so important. Not creating a day so bullying, whatever. Like everybody knows bullying is going on, but the effects of bullying on a victim. So with personal stories, because I know that let's say you say a comment to someone, it doesn't mean anything to you as a bullier. But you don't know how long that comment will stay on the victim. And if people know how long it does, the effect it has on someone with personal stories, it makes a really big difference. If you're a bullier and you hear that one comment you said brought someone to really, really bad things, it's going to change your life and it's going to change how you do things. So that's very important. Awareness is so important.
Understand the consequences.
Yeah. It's not about liking that person. It's not about agreeing with what they do. It's that you are tolerant of them, and it's respect too. It's the respect of everybody as an individual, and that gets lost in the confusion of school. You become a group. You lose that individuality.
I want to say thank you, and what a brave group of people you are. My knees are knocking standing at the mic here, so I can only imagine how you feel up there. We as school trustees want to do better in our schools, so thank you for being ears to your friends, to your brothers, your sisters, other people in your school. We do want to listen, sometimes we just forget to ask. So continue being the voice. Sometimes you have to shake us up and take every opportunity like these to speak on behalf of things that aren't going right and to encourage people around you and sometimes shake us adults up. So thank you.
But I would also like to say something. 2 years ago I was in Newfoundland attending the Canadian School Board Association. And the Minister of Education at that time said Newfoundland had doubled or almost tripled their increase in funding for schools. And we're all living one thing in Canada right now, the second best nation in the world for education. And we're undermining the most important resources that we have. They're sitting there in front of us. So maybe what we should do is, like the voice said all through the Congress, is, I have an idea. Let's send a tape of this to every education minister, maybe to every minister in cabinet. Let's invite them to our Congress, free of charge. They love a free meal. Let's invite them here. Let's let them hear what the natural resources of this country have to say to them. Because unfortunately, for everyone here, without the almighty dollar, a lot of people get hurt. And it's sad that someone like him can't have a bed to sleep and go to school. I can't believe that in Canada in 2012 that's happening. Or kids go to school hungry. It's unbelievable. A rich nation like ours, that shouldn't be happening.
First of all, the conference was fantastic. This is a great way to end it. And I think that it reminds me that, you know, as school commissioners and school board trustees, we have a lot of responsibilities. But the most important one, I think, and it came through the testimony of the students, and that is that our most important responsibility is to support and recruit inspired and inspiring teachers, because that's where it all begins, and that's where we can really make a difference. So that's what we need to focus on first and foremost, to encourage and support the recruitment and the support of inspired teachers. Thank you.
I was curious, I noticed in some of your essays that, especially the fellows were commenting on how beneficial video games have been for you in helping you to avoid some of the worst things in life and in helping you to learn some skills. And you know, as someone who hates video games, I've often seen them as an impediment to learning. They keep boys in particular up all night, they can't stay awake at school. And so I've always seen them as a negative, and they teach people violence. And I'm just wondering if you could actually comment further on the ways in which you see video games as helping your education, because I think I'm probably not alone in being surprised to read that today. And I think it would be helpful for some of us to understand that, how that plays into your lives a bit more.
Like playing games at a young age when I was like 10 or 12, it taught me like basic spelling, like advanced spelling. That's me. I put on subtitles whenever I watch TV. But to me, it was like a way to escape into something that was fun and that like took away stress. And like it helped, I guess, just change the day from bad to not so bad.
So it helps you to make decisions fast so you can apply that to your real life. And other games help you develop strategies, help you develop things that you can do in a certain situation, find more ways to get yourself through something or around something. It'll teach you how to overcome things and see things from more than what they are. They'll open up your imagination to see the bigger picture than what you actually see.
So how to win an election.
Well, when it comes to video games, actually, I play video games, but I'm not too into it. But when it comes to video games, I really look for the storyline, you know, like games like Assassin's Creed or even some of the Call of Duties, you know. There's a lot of historical aspects, you know, like it's like you're going back in time and you get to like see, you know, like how it was then, because well, how do I say, with all the art and all the pictures and stuff, it captures your mind. You feel like you're back in time or something. And one of the things I actually look for in video games is the historical aspects and the storyline. And you learn from it too, like with certain games like Assassin's Creed, I'll bring it up because it's so diverse now. It went from, how do you say, the Middle East, and it expanded like with the westward expansion, going to Italy, and then now the new game is, you know, they're in the Americas and you're a Mohawk warrior, and the story just keeps going, and it's pretty cool, and it enlightens you. If you search for certain aspects in a video game, you'll find them. I mean, video games are pretty distracting, but you know.
That works for you.
Thanks again, all of you. Boy, you've represented your communities and yourselves well. The question I have to do is with technology. And as school boards, we spend a lot of money on technology. And none of you have really touched on whether you thought that was a positive or a negative influence, either A, to keeping you in school or engaged, or B, to helping you learn what needed to be learned. And you could also touch a little bit, if you could or are interested, as to whether or not things like Facebook or Twitter are things that are helpful in your schools or betterments. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
When you say invest in technology, you're talking about?
I'm talking about iPads and smart boards and, you know, all the things that we're told as school board trustees that that's what you want. And I'm just interested to hear your perspective.
There's one thing you were talking about a budget for smart boards. I know at my school there was teachers that didn't want smart boards, and they were forced to have smart boards. A teacher in particular wanted to tear his wall down. He really didn't want one. And I think it's about, you have to ask this to the teachers too, it's about your way to teach, because some of them it's all about the blackboards, and the students, we go with that. Like, we adapt to every single class, every single teacher has a different way of teaching, and some really use them, smart boards, some use them in the wrong way, some don't know, and they get pissed off, and they really want to kill the smart board. But I think that forcing teachers to get these smart boards, maybe not the best way, because it brings a negative side to teaching that we haven't seen before, so that's not really good. But I think just it's a nice technology, but it should be an option, you know, just an option.
I wanted to talk about social networking. My school started using a lot of, like using their website. For example, they created a website and they post like a bulletin, which is like the news feed about things happening. They post like information or calendars. They really start to use the internet so that us students, instead of always wondering what's going to happen and having to go to school and ask teachers, we can just access it to the internet. And also my school has started a Facebook page, and there they also write on their status, they write news that's going on, and like let's say there's a snowstorm, they're going to say whether or not there's school. And I find that in that way it helps a lot, because we're so much on the internet that it keeps us access to school, which is, I find it's a good thing.
In some of my classrooms, we have the smart board, but it's used as a projection screen. Right? I mean, it can be used for so much more, but until the teachers actually know how to use that, it's just another piece of technology. But what I'm certain of is that students, as students, we deal with technology on a day-to-day basis, and I mean, I'm hesitant to say in all of Canada because I'm not sure. But I know in Southern Ontario, students go home and they jump on their laptops or their computers, right? And at one point it was an equity issue, but now I'm almost certain that if a student wants to, they can find a laptop or a computer to work on, right? And with that in mind, with so much influence that has on us as students, why not use that as a benefit in the classroom, right? And it just takes some teachers to be open-minded about that and to be knowledgeable about that to get it happening.
But our school got a new application like for attendance taking and marking, and that 2 years ago, and the teachers still don't know how to use it. Anyway, it's Power School, and they might, like, from our school, I think the Department of Education sent one or two people from our school to Halifax to actually learn it. And these people are the only people in the school that learn it. So out of say 50 teachers in the school, they're running around helping all of these other teachers that have no idea how, even some of them, how to turn a computer on, right? How to put their marks in the computer, or how to mark someone absent. And like with the 16 attendance policy that we have, that could make a big difference. Like, if someone marks you not there and you're sitting right in front of them, right? So that's basically my only problem that I have.
At one of the board meetings I attended recently, we had a presentation from the middle school that had just introduced a Kindle and iPad program, and they brought students with them to talk about it, and you could just see that these students were so excited that they had this iPad and they had this Kindle. It was like Christmas all over again. And that technology, it makes them want to read. It makes them, so it adds fun into learning. And like on an iPad, she was talking about how they can check newspapers from all over the world. That's what they do when they get into class in the morning, is they read an article or something, and it brings so much more information right to your fingertips, and it adds a lot of fun to learning too.
We always put so much emphasis, when I was going to school, on the library, trying to get us to go to the library, and in many ways now the internet has become our library, our community library, so we don't have to go to them, they come to you, in fact, and there's a whole world of possibility that's there, and there's a great way, I think, that the university or the schools need to integrate that in a better way. So, we're done. Take a deep breath. You know what?